Hi, and welcome back to Err is Human, Why We Keep Screwing Things Up and What to Do About It. For those of you doing the homework, I hope that thinking about OODA loops and thinking about checklists has transformed your everyday approach to life and everyday approach, well, frankly, to work, and that you are doing better because of it. For those of you who are going straight through, welcome back. Welcome to Survival Act 2, Partnering with Science and Technology. So you've probably all heard of the concept of Six Sigma, and Sigma refers to standard deviations. The idea behind Six Sigma is that you should have errors in a frequency rate of less than 1 to 2 per million, rather than probably 1 to 2 every 100 or 1 to 2 every 10 we have in medicine, where some error occurs. So Six Sigma is all about pushing up quality. And one of the fundamental pieces of Six Sigma is the realization that as long as human beings are involved, we're never going to get there, but we should always strive to. So my first needle stick happened when I was an EMT, and my partner was a paramedic, started a line on a patient, threw the IV catheter over his shoulder. When we got to the hospital and I started to clean up, he told me, hey, watch out, there's a sharp somewhere in there. So I figured I'd let him do it. I pulled out the jump bag, our first in bag, and I stuck my hand in and was skewered by his sharp, which had landed pointed end up in the bag. Had we had these kind of engineered safety, human factor engineered IV catheters, that never could have happened to me. So part of what we need to do in engineering is, wherever possible, make things better by recognizing how humans make errors and, as best we can, engineer away those errors. But I want you to think about this patient. We've all seen this patient. This patient has an awful lot going on, and now you have to move this patient. And so this is what you're seeing. You're seeing a bundle of lines. You're not sure what goes where. And as you're starting to roll the patient, he codes. You don't know what to give, where, how, or when. So while this is not absolutely crystal clear, this is incredibly organized. And to someone who's familiar with an engineered system like that with the multi-channel pumps, you're able to very quickly determine what went wrong and respond to it, as compared to that knot of IV tubing that we often see. So again, identifying where human error can happen, engineering a fix for it. So this is a game called Go, and if you've never played Go before, it's a good game. It's an old game. The total possible combinations of positions is 3 to 361, which is of course more atoms than there are in the universe. The total number of legal moves is spelled out there, ends with 935. The rest of it, that's an awful lot of legal moves. And after the first two moves, there's 300 times as many possible moves as there are in chess. So why am I telling you this? Go was considered the holy grail of the AI movement. The idea that you could have sufficient computing power and sufficiently far-seeing AI, well, it was expected that it would be 2030 before we would have an AI system that could beat a human being in Go. So it happened. A program called AlphaGo an AI called AlphaGo beat a human. And this changes everything, because although AlphaGo was written to win at Go, this company, now owned as part of Alphabet, is looking at pulling back as many rules and instructions as possible from the programming, so that the same artificial intelligence algorithms can be presented with any problem without being told what the rules are, observe that problem, and find the solution. And so DeepMind, which is the company, is applying those algorithms to real-world problems, including healthcare. Now, this is an error on lecture, and we're in the section on error reduction. So this isn't something that's scary. This is something that is phenomenal, something that's amazing. Radiology is often targeted as the medical specialty that's most likely to suffer from artificial intelligence, particularly from deep learning artificial intelligence. And we know that interpretive radiologists have a 30% retrospective error rate, that they often miss the very pathology that the test was ordered to find. There's a 3 to 5% real-time error rate, and in 2013 it was estimated that almost $38 billion a year was wasted due to radiology errors in interpretation. So it's no surprise that the Alphabet company is hiring radiologists to use tremendous databases of radiologic images, and teaching AI algorithms how to interpret them. And in fact, the ChexNet AI outperformed radiologists on detecting pneumonias on chest x-rays. So you'll hear the argument from interpretive radiologists, well, somebody still needs to read that film and take responsibility for it. But let's be blunt. If I'm an emergency physician or a family medicine physician or a surgeon, and there's an algorithm that reads the image faster, as in immediately upon the image being shot, gives me my reading immediately, and does it at a higher accuracy rate than a human being, why would I not be the one assuming responsibility for that interpretation? At the end of the day, as the clinician caring for the patient, it comes back to me anyway, and it's much more comforting in some ways to know that my results are immediate and that they're with very high accuracy. So I would anticipate that we'll find decreased errors as interpretive radiologists are replaced with these deep learning algorithms. And it's not going to just be interpretive radiologists. One of the things that distinguishes physicians is their diagnostic ability. But we all make errors in our diagnoses. We bring all the biases and the heuristics into play every time we see a patient. And when we do that, we're at risk of making error. And so Babylon, this app, by asking a series of questions, is actually able to perform better than essentially interns completing their licensing exam for a medical license. And we can say, interns, what do they know? But the fact is, we were all interns at one point, those of us who practice clinical medicine, and we're where we are now, and there weren't companies spending billions and billions of dollars on trying to get us there faster or make us better. So it won't be long before devices with greater diagnostic accuracy than a human being are available on every smart device. Now that can be a bit scary for those of us who are in clinical medicine, but the fact is that they'll reduce error, they'll improve patient safety, and they'll improve outcomes. And so we need to think about what that world looks like for medical care. So here's your homework. I want you to read Kai-Fu Lee's AI Superpowers, China, Silicon Valley, and the New World Order. Unless you have a deep, profound understanding of artificial intelligence, and particularly the modern approach that's resulted in this concept of deep learning, it's very important to understand this. And then look at some lists. There's lists that predict what jobs will be replaced by artificial intelligence. Look at different lists. It's funny, in some lists you'll see certain jobs that are very low risk on one list being very high risk on another. And in light of what Dr. Lee proposes, do you think that those lists are accurate? Or do you as a human being look at them and say, no, I understand where he thinks human jobs will exist in the future, and I think there are certain elements of specific jobs, particularly look at your own profession, that simply cannot be replaced by an algorithm because of some unique nuances of being human in relation to that job. So then also think about an encounter, a healthcare encounter with you as a patient, with a mix of humans and AI taking care of you. What part of that care would you be comfortable with having the AI direct? Making your diagnosis? Doing your surgery? Think about what you want a human being involved in terms of your care. And then think about why you answered the way you did. Think about, is your answer reasoned or unreasoned? Are you thinking logically about what would be safest for you, what's going to result in the best outcomes, or are you thinking illogically using biases and heuristics? Thanks for your time. Email me with any questions, and I look forward to seeing you in the next act.